Okay. Good afternoon to all. So I have been assigned the task of taking unit number 3 for drawing part. Okay, unit number 3, drawing section I will be taking. So this is the first slide. Now before I talk about drawing process and other things, what is that I am making from the drawings? That is what I am like, what products we are making, what is used. So I have shown some images of what products are there. On left hand side we are having rods and bars, and on the right hand side we are having these pipes and tubes. Now question comes, what's the difference between these two? Visually you can make difference between these rods, bars, pipes and tubes. One is full section, there is no hollowness in it, but here there is hollowness. So these are the hollow elements. But when I come to the rods and bars, what's the difference? So if you say rods are round sections, okay, circular cross sections, but when I come to the bars, they might have square, rectangular cross section or hexagonal cross section or any other odd type of cross section. So whenever I say rods, it is purely round section. Similarly, when I come to the pipes and tubes, whenever I say pipes will always be in round section, but when I come to the tubes, it will be in square or rectangular cross section. So these are used for mainly for your transport of fluid medium, gaseous medium, for transport purpose, fluid. But when I come to the tubes, they are used as structural elements. They are used as structural elements. So example here, this, what your podium is there. So this part is made up of tube. Your desks, whatever those supporting legs are there, it is made up of tube. So there we are having examples of for window grills. It's a typical example of bar, not rod. Similarly, apart from rod and bars, tubes and pipes, there is another type of product that can be made from drawing is your wires. So wires for electrical purposes, wire for your meshing, okay. So all these, even in your guitars, whatever wires are used, fine wires, it is made from drawing operation, okay. So three important products are made from drawing operations. These rods, bars, pipes, tubes and wires. So it is having a widespread application. Now this is how I will be covering. It is as per the syllabus. So I will be talking about the process first, introduction part. Then what equipments I am using to carry out this process, that I will be covering here in drawing equipments. Different types of drawing equipments are there. Then the dies, based on the material that is being drawn, I will be changing the die material, I will be changing some design. So what are the drawing dies, okay, what all comes over here, okay. So drawing dies parameters, that I will be covering. Then drawing variables, how I can gain control over the process, what are the things that I need to have control on so that I get the desired product. So that will be for drawing variables, okay. Then some analytical part is there. So mathematically I am trying to analyze on paper, okay. In this I am interested in finding how much force is required to reduce a stock of higher diameter of higher cross section to a lower cross section, okay. So this is very, very important, how much force are required. If I know how much force is coming during the drawing operations, I can select my equipment accordingly, whether it should be a high capacity machine, medium capacity machine or a low capacity machine will do. So based on the force, again I will get to know of what material a die should be made, whether a regular material can be used or whether a high strength material is required to make that particular product, okay. So analysis of drawing, mainly concentrating on finding the forces occurring during the drawing. So apart from that, I will be trying to understand what is the cone angle effect. So what's the optimal cone angle and what's this dead zone, okay. Dead zone is an undesirable thing that we need to avoid. How I can avoid dead zone during the drawing process. So what's the optimal angle and how I can avoid this dead zone. That will be part of this analysis of drawing process, extension of that. Similarly, maximum possible reduction in drawing. Suppose if I am having a rod of say 20 mm diameter, I want to reduce it to around 8 mm diameter. So ultimate objective is from 20 to 8 mm diameter. So can I do it in a single step? It's not possible. So what is the maximum that I can reduce so that number of steps are reduced in getting to the destination diameter? Okay, from 20 to 8. So how many steps I need to involve over here? Maximum, the better. Maximum possible reduction, the better. But it is not possible. Okay. So what is the maximum possible? That we'll try to understand. That is theoretically, but practically it is not possible. So why there are limitations when I go to practically? If I want to reduce it, what are the limitations practically? That also we will try to see. Theoretically, what is the maximum possible reduction, and practically how much I can go. Then the last one is your tube drawing and its different types. Now here mainly I am talking about rods and bars and wires. So here it is a hollow thing. So what are the different types of tube drawing processes? Classification of tube drawing processes. This is what I will be covering. Now this is a typical representation of the drawing process. At first glance you might think it is very easy. This is the die, something is coming here, entering. Because of the dies there is reduction. It's not simple as that. So a higher stock size is supposed to be reduced to a lower stock size. So the cross section that I am referring is circular in this. That's why I am using this A0 initial area. It is being reduced to AF, that's the final area. So for this reduction to happen, there is some deformation that has to take place. It is possible because of this die, constriction in the die, from larger cross section to the lower cross section, from larger cross section to the lower cross section. Okay, typical example for drawing. So entry part of the drawing and this is the exit part of the drawing. So another question that might be asked, there is another process called as extrusion process. There also I am making some cylindrical type of objects. Long means aspect ratio is very high, length is very high, and your cross sectional area is very small. So what's the difference between the extrusion and the drawing process? So in extrusion, in drawing process, I am applying a pulling force to cause this change in the cross section, to cause the reduction in the cross section. I am applying the pulling force. So tensile forces are coming into action over here. But when I say your extrusion process, I am trying to push the material through the constricted die. So the dynamics is totally different. Okay. So if you want to avoid cracking in the material, I would prefer to go for extrusion process. If the material is sufficiently ductile, it can undergo sufficient plastic deformation without causing fracture, then I can go for your drawing operation. That's why wires, when I say, it is not made up of some hard material, high strength material. Normally it is of copper wires, aluminum wires, or low carbon steel wires. At the max medium carbon steel wire, not even medium carbon, it is on the lower side, because higher the percentage of carbon in the iron, the steel becomes very strong. Then it is difficult to draw such steels. Okay, so that time I might go for your extrusion process. Another thing is, extrusion is primary process. Normally it is carried out in hot conditions, hot deformations, means above the recrystallization temperature of the material. Okay, but whenever I say drawing, it is a cold forming operation. It is a cold deformation process. So it is a finishing operation, secondary operation. Means here I get better dimensions. Means whatever target dimensions are there, close to that I will be getting the dimensions. Suppose if I want to get something 8 mm diameter product over here, so drawing is performed to get the 8 mm. So suppose if I am having some larger stock size, to get this 8 mm, initially I am having something 30 mm stock size, for example, 30 mm diameter, I might do extrusion, I might bring it down to somewhere around 10 mm diameter, okay, and that was done in hot working conditions, hot deformations. Then next one, to reduce it from 10 mm diameter to 8 mm diameter, drawing operations are performed. So it is a cold operation. So that's what I was saying. Drawing is carried out normally at room temperature. It is not carried out at higher temperature because it is a finishing operation. It is a secondary operation or finishing operation. Now types of drawing. Now based on the products that I am making, okay, if I am making your rods and bar, solid kind of objects, then it is called as your rod or rod bar drawing operation. Types of drawing, that is a type of drawing, rod drawing or bar drawing. Now what is the limitation of this? If it is a rod or a bar, it cannot be coiled. So limit length can be manufactured at a time in a given stroke. So limited length can be manufactured in a given stroke. So it cannot be coiled. On the contrary, if I am making wires, okay, it can be coiled on some drum. So large length of wires can be made. Okay, so that's why it is a continuous operation. Continuous wires can be made. So in meters, hundreds of meters together. Therefore, I require multiple dies. Because maximum reduction is the limitation. I cannot go for above certain reduction. So I cannot do it in a single die or a 2 die. So minimum 4 dies are required to get the required finished product diameter. Okay. So normally in wire drawing, for this continuous type of operation, I'll be having dies ranging from 4 to 12. In between 4 to 12. I mean, so many dies are there. At every die there is certain amount of reduction. This is about your types of drawing. Rod, bar drawing, wire drawing. Okay. Similarly, I can go for your tube drawing. Okay. Tube drawing. That is third class of drawing process. So again, there is sub classification tube drawing. We will see it at the later stage. Now coming to the drawing equipment. Now this particular is an example of bull block type. Okay. Bull block type. This sketch is for bull block type, and this bull block is used particularly for your wire drawing. So you can see here, this is the die where reduction is taking place. This is the incoming material. This is the outgoing material. So incoming material is also wire. It is coiled on a drum, but it is of larger diameter. Outgoing material is also a wire, but it is of smaller diameter. So it is uncoiling here, feeding the material. Here it is coiling. Okay, this is only one set what I am saying, what I am showing. Now, how does this happen? We try to see. I have a video. We try to see this wire drawing. This is a typical example for wire drawing. If you see bull block, your die setup. Okay, this is a die set. So similarly, many sets, bull block, die set, pairs. Many such pairs are there. One bull block, one die set. Okay, many such pairs will be there, and it will be happening in sequence. So yeah, this is the starting one, largest diameter wire. This has to be reduced to a very small diameter wire. Okay, so from here it is uncoiled, given to the first pair, that is a bull block and die. This is the first pair. It comes here, reduction takes place, finished product is getting wound, but it is not the final product. Okay, it is intermediate step. So we have, after this there will be a next step. Okay, then it is going to the second pair. Okay, second pair. So actually here we are feeding the lubricant. Okay, actual deformation is happening, coiling. Second intermediate stage. Similarly, okay, the third one, and this is how it goes. Now if you see carefully, the diameter which was at the starting and the diameter which is present now is much smaller. Okay. Now things are not as simple as that. Let me go to the schematic. Let me go to the schematic. So such many pairs were there, and it was taking place in sequence. Now the fun here is here it was large diameter wire, deformation is taking place. This means cross section is reducing, but if cross section reduces as per your constant volume rule, the length should increase. In other dimension, okay, the size should increase. The other dimension, the material should be increasing. This means the length is more over here. Okay, so the speed at which this is getting uncoiled should not be the speed of this which is getting coiled. Okay, if there will be slippages over here. That's why, because of this length increase, reduction in cross sectional area, increase in the length, this thing should be rotating at higher velocity compared to this. These are to be adjusted. Now in previous video what you have seen, we are having separate motors for each pair. We are having separate motors for each pair. So for every drum I need to have every motor, and I need to adjust the speed of the motor accordingly. So for the first die set there will be your one speed, then at second die set another speed, higher speed, next die set higher. Means initially the speeds are low, as you go step by step progressing, okay, in sequence, the speeds will be higher and higher and higher. Okay. Now this is a costly affair. This is a costly affair. So what they did, why can't I do the same operation using one motor? So here is a typical example of this. So I am having one electric motor which is rotating at constant RPM. Okay, but you see here die 1, die 2, die 3, die 4. Material is coming in die 1. Product is coming out of the die 1. Okay, so the speed over here is less than the speed here. Similarly, this will be the input for the die 2, and this will be here will be the product from the die 2. So this speed should be less than this speed. Okay, similarly this speed is higher than this particular speed, but if you take here, this is higher than this is higher than this is higher than this. Okay, with a constant RPM, how I can do it? So it can be done using a step pulley. So if you are having a larger diameter, I can increase the peripheral velocity. So calculations are to be done accordingly. How much is the reduction that is happening? According to that, you need to fix the diameter of that step in that particular pulley. So it is having a step pulley. Okay, so the advantage here is only single motor can be used. Only mechanically having steps on a particular shaft, I can do those reductions. Okay, and it consumes lesser floor space also. So this particular equipment is called as stepped cone multiple pass wire drawing. It is a stepped cone multiple pass wire drawing. So till now whatever two equipments we have seen, it is both for your wire drawing operations. Both for your wire drawing operations. The previous one was your bull block arrangement. Bull block arrangement. It is bull block type of equipment. Another was stepped pulley type of equipment. But both are used for wire making. Then what is used for making the rods and bars is your draw bench. It is your draw bench. So this is the typical example for your draw bench. This is the typical example for your draw bench. So stock, incoming material, a die is there. It is being pulled here, okay, with the help of the draw head. So I will be getting the required product. I will be getting the required product. Now what's the limitation of this? Based on this particular length, okay, this is called as the run out length. Okay, based on this particular length, the length of the product will be decided. That is the limitation. Another problem with this is it requires a larger floor space compared to this. It requires a larger floor space compared to this. Okay, so what is the mechanism involved over here? As usual, die arrangement is there in that particular die set. I am having a draw head. Stock size is there. This stock size is staggered initially. Okay, just like when you want to put a thread into the needle, okay, you first point it. So pointing is done over here for the stock. It is pushed inside. So then this draw head mechanically clamps that particular point and it starts pulling. Drawing operation starts. Drawing operation takes place. So this is to be hydraulically operated because large forces is there involved, or else you can use a chain mechanism to operate this draw head. Okay, chain mechanism to operate this draw head. So how in practice it happens on the industrial shop floor? Let us see that. Okay. Okay. This is okay. These are the rods. Okay, this is for pipe. Anyways, it's similar, but it is using your draw bench. It is using your draw bench. This is the stock. Okay, this is the stock. This is the starting material. It's a raw material, I can say. It's a starting material. So here I am saying that point swagging is to be made. Swagger. Okay, this point is to be made in the stock so that it can be inserted into the die. It can be inserted into the die. Okay, before that I place a bar into this tube because it's a tube drawing. Lubricant is applied. Okay, and now so if you see here, this was pointed. Okay, this was pointed, swagging was done, and that was the draw head. Here is a chain drive mechanism. It's not a hydraulic drive mechanism. You can use hydraulic mechanism also. Then it is pulled by the draw head. Okay, you will get the wire. You will get that required size tube, and whatever pointed portion was there, it will be cut, it will be sawn, it will be spawned. This was done initially to get that pointed portion. Now in this process we had applied lubricants. Okay, so degreasing has to happen. So after this, degreasing process is there. It will be kept in the degreasing. After degreasing, some solvents are used. So still that solvents are inside this tube, so it should be dried off. So you use dryers to remove those solvents. That was one particular extra step here. So once it evaporates, everything is dried, just to make sure no remnants are there of the solvents inside the tube, they are using this cotton plugs along with some extra other solvents, so that whatever remnant solvents are there, that will be removed. So in the long run, with compressed air, they are trying to clean the tube. Okay, this is how the internal portion of the tube is cleaned. It's very difficult to clean the internal portion. So this has been done. Now we are giving the annealing heat treatment to this. Okay, annealing heat treatment. Why? Because it was a plastic deformation process drawing, and it was done at lower temperatures. So it is a cold forming operation. So during that, strain hardening takes place of the material. Okay, residual stresses are generated within the material. So remove those residual stresses so that premature failure doesn't take place of this manufactured product. In this case, it's a tube or a pipe. That's why annealing is carried out. And once that is done, it is passed through this reeling, means some kind of rolling operation, to get the required dimensions. So this particular example was with your draw head. Okay, draw head. Okay, now once we have finished the drawing equipments, one thing that I missed in the previous one was in that bull block arrangement, apart from the die and the bull block, okay, we are having some lubrication box also. That was also shown in that video. So before it comes to the die, sufficiently it will be lubricated. The job will be lubricated sufficiently, and then only it will be fed to the reduction die. Okay, otherwise friction will cause a lot of problems. Okay, whatever I have shown schematically, the same thing is a three-dimensional view of that, but again in the schematic form. It's not in that. The previous one was in the sketch form. This was in the three-dimensional, made from your appropriate modeling softwares. So this is a typical example of your draw head. Instead of a chain mechanism, here we are using a hydraulic mechanism to pull it. Okay, draw head from the die, it is pulling the material. That rods, bars, tubes can be made. I had shown the example for tubes. this is the typical example for your bull block arrangement. Number of bull blocks are there, okay, sequentially arranged. So if you see here, initial velocity is v1. After first reduction, that velocity is v2, and v2 is higher than v1. That's what I was saying. And here relatively forces will also be higher compared to the previous one. When it comes to the v3, this velocity further reduction is taking place, and this velocity v3 is higher than this. Obviously it will be higher than this also, and force is higher than this because relative strain hardening has taken place. More efforts are required to draw the material. So it is a continuous drawing operation for wire. This was wire, this were rods, tubes or so. What's the difference here? Here coiling can take place, here no coiling is possible. So large floor space is required because no coiling is happening. Limited length of the product can be made, but here large length of the product can be made in a shorter floor space. So floor space in industry required is very less in this case because coiling can take place. So another best advantage is stepped cone pulley. This is having multiple motors, but another example that I had shown in equipment was your stepped cone pulley. So it's a single motor, work can be done. Okay. Yeah. Next was your drawing die. This was your drawing die. So typical image of the drawing die. What are the different elements in the drawing die? The first one is the entry region. So whenever I say entry region, it is a bell shape. Okay, this is the entry region. Entry and exit. So the stock will come from here and the finished product will be going out from here. Instead of placing it horizontally, I have placed it vertically. Okay. So entry region is bell shape. What is the reason for having a bell shape? First thing, it allows the lubricant to be drawn into the region where actual deformation is taking place, where actual drawing is taking place. Okay, that lubricant is very essential. It reduces the friction and unwanted work can be reduced. Okay, and even you will get a better surface finish if you are having proper lubrication. So to draw, to bring the lubricant, to collect the lubricant, this kind of your bell shape is there at the entry section. The second thing is why bell shape? There is something called hydrostatic pressure is created. Okay, I hope you are familiar with that. If any object during plastic deformation, it undergoes hydrostatic pressure, the chances of it failing or cracking reduces. So under hydrostatic conditions, I can provide more deformation. Okay, on the contrary, if there is no hydrostatic condition, the deformation that can be provided is very less. If I want to provide more deformation, then the chances of cracking will be there. The material will fail. Okay, necking will take place or somewhere cracking will take place and the material will fail, it will break. Okay, so to create that hydrostatic pressure, okay, this bell shape is provided. Okay, then comes the approach. Okay, approach section, what I call it as the approach angle is very crucial. Okay, here actually drawing deformation takes place, here actual reduction takes place. So the angles associated with approach are very important. It should not be too low also and it should not be too high also. So what is that angle range? 6 to 20 degree. If it is less than 6 degree, it is a very less angle. I'll come to that point. What will happen if angles are less than 6 degree and what will happen if the angles are greater than 20 degree. So if it is greater than 20 degree, that is also an undesirable thing. Also based on the requirement, I should be operating within these angles. Okay, so approach angle, and approach region is very crucial. Actual drawing deformation takes place in this approach region. Then something called bearing surface is there or land is there. This is not causing any deformation, but whatever deformation is caused by that approach region, okay, if any surface undulations are there, to give the required surface finish, I am using this bearing surface. This is the task or job or function of the bearing surface. Okay, so to provide the surface finish, to provide the surface finish of the exiting material, of the outcoming material. Okay, and at the end I am having back relief angle. The amount that is there is 25 to 30 degree. The amount that is there is 25 to 30 degree back relief angle. Now question might come, why there is a requirement of back relief angle? See, there might be some misalignment axis in between the axis of that incoming material stock. That is also cylindrical in cross section. It is having its own axis. So the axis of that stock and the axis of the die, if there is a mismatch, misalignment, okay, then whatever wire is coming out, whatever rod is coming out, okay, there are chances that it might have some cracks or it might fail. Okay, that's why that relief is provided. Just assume if there is a sharp corner here, edge here, what will happen if there is a misalignment? Definitely it will produce concentrated stresses on that particular region of the finished product, and it might lead, even if it doesn't cause fracture, it will lead to poor surface finish. To avoid that, we are giving this relief angle. Now second thing is, I am talking about plastic deformation in metal forming. But to go to the plastic deformation, that plastic region, I have to cross the elastic region. Means elastic deformation is there by default. So the moment I take the deformed product out, there will be some expansion. Means whatever elastic deformation had occurred, the moment it comes out of the constriction, there will be expansion. There will be elastic expansion. Okay, that elastic recovery will be there. If there is a sharp edge, okay, it will lead to abrasive kind of a situation. So it will damage again the product or the wire that is coming out. To avoid that, to accommodate this elastic recovery, we are giving the relief. Okay, so that's the back relief angle in between 25 to 30 degree. So please remember, approach angle very important among all this. What's the range? 60 degree to 20 degree. And back relief to avoid damage of the finished product. And what's the range in which I'll be operating it? Means on what's the range I'll be using it? 25 to 30 degree. 25 to 30 degree. Now same extra schematic of the drawing die. I'm covering the drawing die, cross section 1 of the drawing die. So if you see here, this is the region where actually work material is coming in contact with the die. But I am showing this big portion. So it is a composite die. It is not made up of a single piece. Okay, the inside portion, which I call it as a nib, okay, of the die nib, it is made up of carbides. Okay, so here I require a material which is having higher wear resistance. So it should be anti-wear material. It should be having high wear resistant. Okay, but outside I am having a steel casing. It is a material which is having which is tougher in nature. So this is not tougher, but it is wear resistant. But here it is tougher. Okay, so a composite design is used for making the die. It is not a single piece. Whenever I say composite, it is not a single piece. It is nothing. Everything is not made up of carbide. Neither everything is made up of the steel. Inside portion is of the carbide, nib portion of the die, and outside portion casing, okay, it is made of your steel. Okay, tougher material with wear resistant material. So both the qualities are included. This will improve the life of the die. This kind of a design will improve the life of the die. Okay, the next one is your drawing variables. So just to read it out, how many variables are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 variables. Again, expect for 5 marks, means 1 mark each. That will come if it is a internal evaluation. If it is a external final examination, if it comes for 10 marks, means more elaborate explanation is required on this. So if it is for 10 marks, 2 marks each, so more elaborate explanation is required. You just cannot leave it and just hush up with the things. Okay, so what is that we'll try to cover here now. First one, die angle. Second one is friction. This will come along with the friction to avoid friction lubrication. So I will say friction only. So first one, die angle. Second is friction. Third one is your reduction in cross sectional area per pass. Okay, reduction in cross sectional area per pass. That is one other very important variable. How much I can reduce in a given step per pass. More I can reduce, better it will be. But as I said, some practical limitations are there. As I come here, we'll check with that. And then next one is the temperature. You might wonder why this temperature is coming when drawing is happening at room temperature. Okay, it is a field deformation. Why this temperature is coming? That also we'll have a look at it. And then next one is the drawing speed. Is at what speed I am trying to make the wires. Okay, higher the speed, higher will be the productivity. but I cannot invariably increase the speed. That is also another limitation. So what is that? We'll try to see how drawing speed is affected. Okay, what should be done? Now first thing is your diangle. Okay, now what is a diangle? I'll go to this slide. Okay. Triangle. Okay, this is what is the diangle. Actually it is half diangle. If you make this whatever slant is there, if you join this portion and this portion, you will be having 2 alpha. Okay, 2 alpha. That is your actually full diangle. I should use the word full diangle, but normally while expressing I will be expressing in terms of alpha, so every time I need to use the word half diangle. So alpha, when I say it is a diangle, half diangle. Now what is that? How it is affecting? This is very crucial in drawing operation. Now suppose if alpha is very small, what is the change that is happening? If alpha is very small, the length for which the workpiece will be touching the die will be more. Okay, the length to which the workpiece will be touching the die will be more. Here also it is touching and here also it is touching. What does this mean? What does this mean? It means that contact is more and there will be higher friction. There will be higher friction. Okay, contact is more and there will be higher friction. Now if friction is high, more efforts are required to wire draw the material or to draw the material. So that's why low angles, very low angles are also undesirable. If there are high, if there is a high friction, so the frictional work that is there, that particular component is there, is more. Frictional component will be more. Okay. On the contrary, if I provide higher alpha, okay, if I go on increasing this higher alpha, what will happen? Frictional force will reduce. Why? Frictional will reduce because the area, the contact length will be reducing. The contact length will be reducing, but it will increase another component that is called as the redundant work. Okay, which will lead to inhomogeneity in the material. That's why I was saying this particular diangle should be in between 6 degree to 20 degree. That diangle should be in between 6 degree to 20 degree. To have a better understanding of this diangle and what is that I am trying to say. Okay, we'll go to this slide. So I am showing here half diangle, right? On x-axis half diangle and equivalent amount of work done to carry out the drawing operation. Now if you see UF, F means friction and U is the work done. Work done because of the friction. If I go on reducing the diangle, the work required to overcome the friction is more. If I reduce the diangle, if I increase the diangle, the work required to overcome the friction will be less. On the contrary, if I increase the diangle, the redundant work that is happening in the material, in the drawing material, will increase. Okay. So if you take this is your homogeneous work. Okay, it is not your redundant work. Okay, so what is the homogeneous work, useful work, and what is the redundant work? The effort that goes in just reducing the cross section is your useful work. Okay, that is leading to homogeneous deformation. If extra effort is required apart from just reducing the cross section, that is the redundant work. Okay, and if the redundant component of the work is more within the material, it will lead to inhomogeneity. Within the deformation zone. Okay, that's why there is an optimum diangle at which I am having the least frictional work as well as the least redundant work. Okay, and when I add both these components, the frictional component as well as the redundant component of the work, I will be getting the total work, that is your UT. total work. Okay, and this is what I am trying to get. The least work I need to be doing, means least efforts are need to be put to get the drawn product, minimum. So I am trying to find this minimum. When it will be minimum? At an optimum diangle. So diangle cannot be too much on the lower side, and diangle, half diangle cannot be too much on the higher side. What will happen if diangle is on the lower side? Frictional work will be more. And what will happen if diangle is on the higher side? Redundant work will be more. So there is some optimum range. It depends, okay, on what material you are drawing, what size you are drawing, what is the step reduction you are doing, means what is the cross sectional reduction you are doing. It depends on all those things. You need to compute, then you will be getting those exact value for this minimum work. So that's why diangle, this particular variable, is very, very important. Very, very important. Okay, this was with respect to the diangle. Okay, then next one is your friction and lubrication. Means friction. So as I said, when is the friction increasing? With respect to diangle, whenever the half diangle is less, especially less than the 6 degrees, more it becomes lesser, it is approaching towards the 2 degree or something like that, then definitely the frictional force will be high. So if there is no other choice for me, I need to go for the lower diangles, around 6 I can say, or 5 or 4. So one way of reducing the friction is your application of lubricant. Application of lubricant. Okay, if you are not allowed to go below 6 degree, and whatever friction is happening, that is also undesirable. For that also, if you want to reduce the frictional losses or friction you want to reduce, then you need to use the lubrication. Okay. So what I am saying here is lower diangles, higher friction. If we are on the lower side of that operating window, for the half diangle, better to use lubricant to reduce the friction. So there are different types of lubricants. Okay, you use oils. Okay, that is a wet kind of a lubricant. Entire thing will be submerged into the oil, or a solid lubricants are there. Okay, you can use soap. Okay, as a lubricant, detergent powder as a lubricant, slightly mixed with some appropriate solvents, not with water. Otherwise, oxidation will take place. Corrosion is another problem. Okay, so the and sulfates, oxalates, okay, those kind of compounds are there. Those are the solid lubricants. Then comes your deformation or reduction in cross-sectional area per pass. Deformation or reduction in cross-sectional area per pass. We will try to take this here. Okay, I'll take this one only. I'll not go to that part. Okay. Reduction per pass. So when you draw the product from the die, that amounts to your one pass. Okay. Now for example, here stock size was around 20 mm. The target, the destination point is 8 mm, as I said. Okay, 20 to 8 mm. So I need to reduce it from 20 to 8. So in a single pass, is it possible? Definitely it is not. So what is the maximum amount of reduction that I can give in a per pass? That is what I try to do. Okay. Now how I can increase reduction per pass? By increasing the diangle. What will happen if I increase the diangle? This orifice, okay, the constricted portion here will go on reducing. Higher the alpha, this will be reducing. Higher the alpha, this will be reducing. Okay. So by increasing the diangle, you can try to give more amount of deformation. So more reduction is possible per pass by increasing the diangle. By increasing the diangle. But there is again limitation, as I told. Okay, that we'll see. Okay. So this is about with respect to your deformation or reduction per pass. Per pass. Now one thing is that if I increase deformation to a higher extent for per pass, means cross sectional area reduction per pass reduction is very high, then it will again as I told, if you increase this, friction part component will reduce, but what is the other part that will be increasing? It's the redundant, okay, redundant work. Redundant work is also very undesirable thing. Okay, it will lead to inhomogeneous deformation within the material. Inhomogeneity in the finished product, okay, because of the inhomogeneous deformation is highly undesirable. There will be high strain gradients, and because of that, whatever properties are there, it will be non-isotropic. At different points, you will be having different strengths within the material. Okay, one portion will be stronger than another portion within the same material, within the same one. Okay, and this is highly undesirable because if it is to be used in sultry kind of a environment, if it is to be used in a saline kind of an environment, corrosive kind of an environment, so because of this inhomogeneity in the deformation, it will lead to galvanic corrosion, okay, which is also called as stress corrosion. So one side residual stresses will be more, another side residual stresses will be less. So that will lead to some kind of a galvanic corrosion. A cell is established, galvanic cell is established, and it will lead to corrosion, deterioration of the material, okay, and that is called as a stress corrosion cracking. Okay, and it is cracking. The material will fail because of this phenomena. So as far as possible, I need to be keeping homogeneity in the deformation. How I can keep the homogeneity in the deformation? By reducing the redundant portion, by reducing the redundant component during the deformation. So if I increase the die angle too much, probably above 18 degrees or so, if I cross 20 degree, the component of the redundant will be, the portion will be very high. Inhomogeneous, it will lead to inhomogeneous deformation. Okay, that should be avoided. That's a problem with your cross-sectional area reduction in one step. Okay, but if you want to say how I can increase cross-sectional area in one step, by increasing the die angle. Okay, and how I can reduce friction? By increasing the die angle. Okay, that is there. But how I can reduce per step reduction? By decreasing the die angle. If you decrease the die angle, the per step reduction will be reduced. So we need to play with the die angles for, that's why it is very, very crucial. Approach angle or half die angle is very, very crucial. Okay, so what I will do is, since it's already close to 1 now, so other faculty must be waiting, so I am leaving it here. So I was here, so I have finished this part, deformation or reduction in cross sectional area. Tomorrow I will cover with this another remaining 2 variables, and we'll go to slight analysis of the drawing process. So in tomorrow's class we'll do the remaining part, and probably I'll be finishing the drawing part in a cut short manner in the next session. Okay, so I thank you for your patient listening. Hope so you are listening. Okay, thank you.